Hi, welcome back. I've been using this 10-inch cobalt sliding miter saw for about 5 years in our shop, and I've been really happy with it. It's a great tool. Like I said, it's held up 5 years over or under a great deal of work, and it's done us well. But it's time to upgrade. We're building bigger things now, and we're dealing with a lot bigger, a lot wider lumber and hardwoods. So it is time to move on from our trusty cobalt here. And today I was at Lowe's thanks to the Woodworkers or Woodworking for Beginners group on Facebook, and I heard about a saw that was on sale at Lowe's, and I thought I'd check it out. I went and checked it out. It was the Metabo, and I'll tell you the model number here in a second. But I got it for really cheap, and it's a 12-inch, which is 2 inches bigger than this 10-inch, and it's got a much bigger bed on it to allow us to cut some bigger pieces of lumber. So in this video, I'm going to unbox the Metabo, and we're going to assemble it, and hopefully this helps you assemble yours rather quickly, so you don't have to read through those tiny little instructions. I'll tell you, this has been a heck of a week for beginning and intermediate woodworkers. Lowe's decided to, here in the middle of Christmas, we're 10 days away from Christmas, Lowe's decided to put the Delta 36-725T2 table saw on clearance. And that table saw went for basically $340, which is half of what it goes retail. And in addition to that, Lowe's also put this Metabo C12RSH2 model 12-inch sliding miter saw on sale for $164. Both of those prices are just out of this world. So obviously people are buying these up like crazy. The Facebook groups that I'm a part of, which is Woodworking for Beginners, and the Delta 36-725T2 owners group, both very great groups, great people in them, and you get a lot of answers to your questions there. But for the last 2 days, it's been nothing but posts about this saw and the Delta saw and the sales going on and people scrambling to find them. I've seen posts of people driving 2 or 3 hours to go get one. And if you're one of those people, hey, congratulations to you. Fantastic. The Delta is a great saw. I'm hoping this is a great saw. I don't have any experience with it like I do the Delta. But two great deals. And for those people who are beginning in woodworking, it's a great opportunity for them to really explore doing bigger and better things. So if you picked up on these deals, I think they're pretty much sold out now. But if you were able to get one, congratulations to you. That is awesome. So let's go ahead and I'm going to unbox this and put it together for you. And there you have it. Oh my gosh. I wasn't expecting this thing to be fully assembled when I opened the box, but it indeed is fully assembled when you open the box, which is nice. I don't have to put anything together. The only thing that's not on here is the side support rails, which they can only go in one way, so I'm sure that's going to be pretty straightforward. So I don't know. That just ruined my plans of making this video. But I'm going to go ahead and continue anyway. And I'm going to go ahead and put a new blade on here. I got a new 80-tooth blade from Dewalt that I'm going to put on this saw. And then we'll put the saw in its place. And wow, I got to say, that's nice. That's nice not to have to put anything together. Okay. Like I said, I picked up a 12-inch Dewalt blade. This is an 80-tooth blade. Remember, this is a 12-inch saw blade, and the bigger you get, the more power it takes to drive it. My Cobalt is 15 amps. This one is 15 amps, but the difference in 2 inches of the blade I'm a little concerned about the power being there. Dewalt does make another one. They make a 100-tooth ultra fine blade, but given the size and the cost difference, this one was 50 bucks. The 100-tooth blade was 80 bucks. I thought, you know what, for $30 and potentially a saw blade that I'm not going to like, I'm going to go with the 80 tooth, and so that's what I'm going to stick with, and I'll let you all know how this thing performs over time. So we're just going to switch out the blade. Super easy. There is a button right here. It's on the right hand side of the machine. If you're facing the machine, that will lock the blade in place so that you can remove the arbor nut from the other side, and then we'll put this Dewalt blade on. Alright, so as I mentioned, all I'm going to do with this saw now is I'm going to replace the blade with the Dewalt 80 tooth that I bought. And there's this plastic cover here on the left hand side of the machine that if you just unscrew this forwardmost screw, you can swing this plastic piece out of the way. On the other side of the saw, right here, and it's going to be right here where the arbor is, there's a little push button. This push button will lock the blade in place while you're removing it. The arbor bolt that holds the blade on is left hand threaded. So the old righty-tighty, lefty-loosey isn't going to work here. We're going to turn this to the right to loosen that bolt. Now I have 5 children and a wife that also does woodworking, so I can never find any tools around this place. So I'm using basically my impact wrench here, my impact socket on the end of my 1/2-inch driver to remove this. The one that came with the saw, you can see I already tried to use it to get this blade off, and it bent. This arbor bolt is on here really tight. So let's see if we can break this loose. All right, there we go. Take off your arbor nut and your flange. I'm sure that's an all right blade, but it's not going to be good enough for what we're doing. Here's our Dewalt 80 tooth. Just raise up your guard. And make sure that's seated correctly on there. Put your flange bolt back in. It does have a notch in it, so it only will go in one way. Make sure that fits in there right. And because it's left-hand threaded, we're going to turn it left to tighten it. And there's that. All right, so great thing about this saw being all put together, we only have a few pieces to put on. We've got both of these side rails of what they call the sub table, and you've got the platform components of this sub table here as well. These will just fit right on here. And insert those into this end. There is a bolt in the back, looks like a little 6mm bolt or smaller. For that sub table, and you can just lower it down so it's level. Pretty handy. Also, this comes with a holder that's in the back, that goes in the back. I'm not going to use it. because I'm going to be fastening this down to my workbench anyways. So I don't really care about that. And that's really all there is to it. This is actually really convenient that they have shipped this, or they have packed this already assembled. That's great. If you're in the market for this saw, if you can even find one now, that part of this is fantastic. The fact that you don't have to put it together. You've also got your hold down for holding pieces down to the miter saw if you want to use that. In the 5 years that I've had my Cobalt, I've never used it. Just I always used my hands. So let's get this moved over. I'm a little concerned. My Cobalt saw is a lot smaller than this saw, so I'm hoping it fits. I'll show you where we're going with this. Here's my Cobalt, and you see I have a lot of room here to work as it stands right now. But let's see how this thing fits in there. This is a monster of a saw. So when my neighborhood has their annual who has the biggest miter saw competition, I feel like I'm taking this one home this year. This is a monster. We're going to have to get used to this being so big and bulky here on our workbench, but it is what it is. The dust port on the back of this saw was a little smaller actually than the dust port on the back of my Cobalt. I think my Cobalt was 2.5 inches. This one seemed to be closer to 2 inches. Another thing that I'm not sure I'm totally in love with is this adjustment handle back here for the tilt. Just because this saw is so big, it's quite a reach for me. I don't know how Grace is going to handle this. You know, being as small as she is, being able to get back there and tilt this machine. But otherwise, so far so good. If I have updates to this saw, I'll post them. But for right now, my main concern is just to get this thing squared up. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, this saw has kind of an interesting feature here that I've never seen on a miter saw before. Either probably because I'm old or cheap, one of the two. But it's got this guard here in the back, and initially I wasn't sure what it was for. But if you loosen this knob here on the right hand side, this guard slides out to meet the fence, and that's super cool. I've never seen that before. That's going to cause, or that's going to prevent a lot of injuries. I think one of the most common things when you're cutting a small piece of wood here on your miter saw, not having some support here, it'll kick out your material pretty easily. So this guard is designed to slip all the way to the front of the fence, and then it's a solid piece, but we're going to cut through this piece on our first run. That is what you're supposed to do according to the manual. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, I've got a piece of cherry here that's just kind of a scrap piece of cherry, and I'm going to align it with the fence, and then I'm going to take this guard and I'm going to push this guard all the way up to my material, flush with my material, and lock it down. And now I've got support right there where the blade is cutting, which is the number one area where people get hurt on these saws is by or at least from flying debris from here. So what they say is the next thing to do is go ahead and cut through a test piece of wood and cut through your guard. So we're going to do that. There we go. Beautifully cut. Very fine. I'll test this for square. I'm sure it is. It looks pretty darn close, at least visually. However, it does seem like the tilt is off significantly. So we'll go through and we'll align this. Okay, I gotta be honest. I'm really disappointed with the mechanism to ensure that this blade is perfectly vertical at 0 degrees. You know, I had kind of mentioned before that I was worried about the size, the bulk of this machine. It is so huge, and the tilt control is back here. And in order to square this thing up, you've got to try and maneuver this behemoth of a body here while you're adjusting this knob in the back. And then the knob, for some reason, as you turn it, and it's nothing new. When you turn things, the torsion will make them turn. But this seems to be quite exaggerated. It seemed like no matter how little or much I crank on that adjustment knob in the back or that tightening knob in the back, it would shift the whole saw over again. So this took me probably 10 minutes just to get it perfectly square, but I did, and I'll show you that. I'll go ahead and lock this. And we are now perfectly square. But again, that was, in my opinion, more difficult than it needed to be. Mostly because this thing is just so big. And it's a 12-inch saw, so it's going to be big, and it's going to be bigger than what I'm used to. But that's that. So we're perfectly square up and down, and we'll just do a quick check here. Somebody has lost the square that I usually use. I won't mention any names. We're good there. And even though we're on 0 and we're in this notch, we are not good here. Over the span of 12 inches, this thing is basically deflecting 3/32 of an inch. Yeah, so that's pretty significant. Let's see if we can't get this a little more accurate. Okay, so you can see in this direction, we are perfectly square there. And same with the profile in that direction, cutting it crossways, we're square there. The bad news is, if you'll see it, I'm going to tilt my camera here. You can check out here that as far as the notches on the saw are concerned, I don't know if you can see that, but we are a bit off 0 there. And this has a channel, just like most miter saws do. It's got a channel that this rotating base will snap into at 0. But we're not in that channel. We're actually off of that channel, and we're a full, basically half a degree off. So this indicator looks like it's adjustable. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is also not impressive. This adjustable dial here, it's only got one screw to hold it in, and it holds it in at the very top, so the thing pivots, and it's this could be done better. But apart from that, we're all set up. We're perfectly square now. Only took me, probably 20 minutes to get this thing all squared up and installed. So apart from that, the saw cuts like butter. You can hear it. This is cherry, so cherry's pretty hard, and it cuts right through. And you'll see, I've got this little piece here that normally would become a projectile. It didn't go anywhere. Let's try a couple. I'm going to intentionally try a couple dangerous cuts here on this guard to see how much better this is. Let's see. All right, so a good 6 or 7 cuts, whatever that was, really small chunks I was cutting out of that, and not one projectile on my Cobalt that would have sent pieces through the back wall or into my face or off to the right somewhere more times than it didn't. So that is a great improvement. I don't know how many other saws have that, but hot damn, that's nice. That's gonna save us a lot of band-aids for sure. Like most miter saws, my Cobalt was basically just a big sawdust machine, and even with our dust collection connected and our best efforts, it seems like dust got everywhere with that Cobalt. I mentioned before that the dust collection port on the back of this saw is a little smaller than it was on my Cobalt. My Cobalt, I think, is 2.5 inches. This one felt like it was more like 2 inches. I had to really crank down the pipe clamp that holds the hose onto the back of the saw for this one. And I want to see how it performs in terms of dust. So I'm going to just grab some scrap wood. I'm going to turn on my dust collector, which I did not have on up to this point. I'm going to turn on my dust collector and let's see what kind of mess we can make. All right, so I've made several cuts just with a 2x4, and really I don't think there's any discernible difference between the two. They're both messy. And I'll go ahead and detach my camera so I can show you that. It was just, I don't know, 7, 8 cuts that we did, and you can see that we got a lot of dust back here. So, you know, probably not much of an improvement, if any, over the Cobalt. But that's a miter saw thing anyway, you know, unless you build some sort of hood behind it to catch it all or direct it into your dust collector. Really, you're going to deal with that anyways. So no discernible difference there. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with the saw. It does seem like it takes a little longer to spool up than my 10-inch Cobalt did. Maybe that's because of the blade size. I don't know, but you can hear it. It sounds like it takes a good 2-3 seconds. My Cobalt didn't do that. My Cobalt was pretty instant. So that's just something that we'll have to adjust to. Otherwise, it seems like a pretty good saw. And for the money for the sale that they were having today, I think it's probably unbeatable for that price. I think I picked it up for, again, $164, $165. You cannot beat that for a 12-inch miter saw. So there you go. There you have it. Turns out we didn't have much to assemble. But I'm glad I took the video because there were some things here that that were of interest and some things to think about as you're working with this machine. Good luck. If you have any questions, comments, let me know.